I didn't mean to leave you.
Do you think they're going to be like on the actual budget as well?
No, that's not the answer. Just that's all.
Everybody's here for
Okay, would like to get started?
I don't know. When there's a budget book, I don't have a budget. Oh, yeah. I'm still using that number. I haven't heard of it. Where I got that from. I don't have a book. I didn't steal it from you. I don't want to bring everybody. Wow, you can
Sharing is caring.
well.
Yeah.
That's the budget. She just looked at the pictures. Yeah, the planning commission doesn't look pictures. Big old pictures. Here, Ray, let's get the party started. Hello, Alice. That's right, you don't have to turn around.
Let me know if you ever want me to move the microphone. I can do it.
Okay, we'll get started. Please take your seats. Now, the agenda, this is a protocol for the agenda this evening. We're going to take R73. That's the approval of the service / RFP waste management. Then we'll go to Bill 70, the solid waste fee, and then we'll go to Bill 69, the solid waste fund. Mr. Hanlon, if you're, and I'm not trying to insult anybody, but R73 is just the approval. It's just the approval of the RFP to waste management. Either approve it or disapprove it. The discussion of single stream, dual stream will come with Bill 70, the solid waste fee. Am I right, Ms. Weil, our solicitor?
That's correct.
That's correct. Okay, so I would like to, the discussion on R73, the approval of the RFP to waste management. I know a lot of people are here to talk about single stream, dual stream. That comes under Bill 70, the solid waste fee. Okay, with that being said, Mr. Hanlon, read R73, approval of the RFP to waste management.
R73, whereas Article 13016, the city's administrative code requires city council approval by resolution for the award of a contract or engagement of professional services, whereas it is the desire of city council to enter into an agreement, engage the services of the following named contract / consultant for the use and purpose indicated in supporting the recommendation of award of bid or contract dated 11/4/2015. The name of the contractor is Waste Management of Pennsylvania. The project or contract reference number is 2015-24. Now therefore be it resolved that the council of the city of Allentown hereby authorizes the mayor and or such other city officials as deemed appropriate by the city solicitor to sign and execute a contract or amendment and such other agreement and documents as are deemed by the city solicitor to be necessary and or related thereto with the above named contractor / consultant for the project.
Okay, now I make one more clarification to R73, and the reason I will make this clarification, again, I'll make it and I will ask the solicitor if my comment is correct. If we approve waste management, if we approve that, they are capable of doing single stream and or dual stream. Am I correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay, so that's why we're not, that's why when we get to Bill 70, solid waste fee. That's when we talk about the single stream versus the dual stream. So that's where we're at. So right now, we're on resolution 73, just the approval of the RFP to Waste Management. Okay, comments from my colleagues?
Quick comment,
Mr. Green, go ahead.
sorry. Is there a dire need to approve this today? We need to do a back out.
Are you asking me, Mr. Green?
You or?
My understanding is that the current contract expires in early June of 2016. There's a budget issue. Beyond that, I'm not aware of a dire need.
Okay, let's follow up with that, being that this is part of the 2016 budget, am I correct? Mr. Hartzell, I would like for you to make a comment because I think there is a dire need. Go ahead, sir.
The cost estimates of the RFP as proposed have been factored into the budget as expected to cover the second half of 2016. So there is a nexus there between this contract and what is currently the budget in the solid waste fund to cover this. Additionally, in response to Mr. Garidi's issue about whether this is urgent, yes, there are requirements that the Public Works Department will need to do once the RFP is in place to have specific vehicles ready and other specific preparations ready so that we can go without a hitch when the new contract arrives in the summer.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Grady, go ahead.
So those urgent vehicles that need to be acquired, they have to be acquired in the first quarter of the year or the second quarter? I mean, they have to be acquired at the beginning of the year, is that what you're saying?
I will defer to the Public Works Director to speak on that.
Part of it is, it's the responsible thing for us to do to allow the contractor to be able to go out and purchase the vehicles that are required underneath the RFP that was put out. The RFP, it was put out that the vehicles have to be 3 years of age or earlier, so that, you know, whether or not it's a 14, 15, 16. The responses back, actually, that came back for all of the respondents were that there would be new vehicles purchased for this. So the fact of it's already a short period of time, it's going to be difficult for them to be able to purchase the vehicles for this already. If we wait any longer, we're not being responsible to the contractor we're going to approve.
So it's in the contract that those vehicles will be purchased?
Yes.
Any other comments? Colleague,
Are
Mr.
those
Davis.
natural gas vehicles that you're talking about?
The ones that they had proposed, yes.
How many of those are going to, they give you a number how many they're going to purchase?
I believe the number was around 10 vehicles or so total that they had to, whether it was 10, 11, 9, but in that area there, without looking.
Okay, Mr. Davis.
Thank you.
Any other comments from my colleagues? Comments from the public about R73, approval of RFP to Waste Management. Mr. Hilliard, welcome.
Good evening, sir. How you doing?
Name and address.
Yeah, Joe Hilliard, 2819 Wanda Lane. There's no urgent need. I've heard the urgent need is by the requirements specified in the RFP. Why are we doing that? Shouldn't we get the cheapest, best trash collection service for the citizens of Allentown as possible? We're mandating you buy 10 natural gas powered trucks. It's nice to spend other people's money. I would cancel this and put it out for bid. I mean, come on. I mean, this is $8.6 million with 10 vehicles. Would that knock another $1 million off? $2 million? I mean, come on, let's use our heads here, our common sense. We also know that the RFP was issued well over 6 months ago. Because apparently the mayor, obviously has issues with using taxpayer money for his own benefit. Put it out for bid. It's the sensible thing to do. And get rid of the ridiculous requirements that require such lead time. Just say start on June 1 or June 30 and use the trucks you have. And I'd say maybe none older than 10 years. I don't know what's reasonable, or 8. But to say 4 years in natural gas, you're jacking up the costs. Come on. Our water rates are gonna start skyrocketing. All of you are gonna have to find ways to start really paring back numbers and cutting the garbage fee, which I'll discuss later, and cutting property taxes. Because you shafted us with a horrible, horrible LCA water deal to supposedly solve a pension problem, which apparently we have to raise the EIT tax rate on. So come on, please, let's start making some sensible decisions.
Thank you, Mr. Hilliard.
Mr. President, may I respond to that?
Sorry, Mr. Messenger.
There was no requirement put in to be compressed natural gas. They were the only ones to submit that they would supply that, and they are the low bid.
Thank you, Mr. Messenger. Mr. Hirschman, welcome.
President, thank you for inviting me this evening, and my first question is,
There was no bid.
should there be a requirement if the person gives a political contribution, the RFP will be thrown out? I think in the future, you should have another line in here, political contribution, yes or no. It doesn't tell you that. You have other type of contract or payment. I think since you spend all that time on political contribution, and we've been reading all this, watching TV on what's happening in Allentown, was there a political contribution from anyone from East Management to any mayor's political campaign or city council's campaign? I think you should have that answer before you vote on this. Because we spend all that time on political contribution. Would this fit under that? Bill, that it was sponsored by council?
No, obviously we did the contract, the bidding with Ms. Eichelwald and Mr. Harry supported, and Ms. Eichelwald and I did the anti-pay to play. The next thing coming down the road is the ethics ordinance. Obviously that we're going to strengthen the ethics ordinance, and we've talked about this, and part of the ethics ordinance would be that if you received any political contribution, you should not be able to vote on.
So this one fit under what?
Not at this point.
My ordinance was for
Non-competitive bidding. This was a competitive RFP.
Your product should have been competitive.
That's Mr. Hilliard's
And
opinion.
my next question is, since it's an RFP, was there a committee appointed to review this?
Absolutely.
So where are the
Who was on
bids?
the committee? Can we get the 3 names, or 4 names, or 5 names?
That's not public
That's not public information.
Not public record?
Not yet.
No.
No.
Well, they made it public on the day of tax collection. In other words, we have to wait. If the FBI comes in, we'll find out who served on the committee. This is the way it works.
Good question. Very good question. No, I'm not laughing at you, Mr. Hirschman.
I know,
I'll never do
but
that.
that's not the way our government, you can't find out who served on the committee and who voted and how you.
Mr. Hirschman, we don't write the statute. We just interpret and enforce the
What
statute.
statute would be that you cannot release names who served on the committee?
The right to know law, Your
In other words, I have to put right to know.
No, I don't even believe you would then be entitled to the names of the committee members, because it's the process.
Thank you, Mr. Hirschman.
We'll challenge that.
Mr. Hilliard, I'm being very respectful. I'm sorry. Mr. Fegley, welcome.
Good evening, Rich Fegley, 1002 South Record Street. So I too am surprised that the committee that made a decision for a public contract.
Rich, you please,
Yeah, it's not on.
Now it's on.
That's good.
All right, good, I didn't think it was on here. So I'm surprised the committee members aren't public knowledge either. If there's 4 people that chose this RFP instead of a bid, it would be nice to know that. So one question I'd have would be, when I spoke to the mayor in 2012, when we were discussing the incinerator and the waste contracts, I was told that the waste contract was broken into 2 pieces. There was the hauling part and the landfilling part. And the discussion was over the fact that Delta Thermo was going to become basically the landfiller for the city. So their contract is somewhere around 3.5 million, something like that, that they were gonna pick up, and then the mayor was, you know, trying to educate me on the fact that the bigger part of the contract was the hauling, and that was waste management, and at the time, he was saying that was like $11 million. So, you know, part of what had happened in that discussion was the mayor and PFM were telling us that landfill rates were gonna be at 96, almost $100 a ton right now. And that was obviously a big fat lie. In Easton, the city ended up getting a waste contract for landfilling at $40.40 a ton, I think it was. So, you know, part of those negotiations would be another contract. So I'd ask, you know, was there a separate contract for the landfilling, or is waste management just doing everything now?
Mr. Messenger, Ms. Harmon?
Good evening. The options in the proposal requested separate pricing for the cost of collection and separate pricing for the cost of disposal. And as I reported previously to council, we are going to be paying by the ton in the new contract, and I believe that was actually included in Resolution 73. As an MSW disposal, $54.20, which includes state and local fees.
Okay, so I guess I'll go back to where we started was, so if someone could educate me a little bit, there was a committee that picked the best RFP that we received, and we're not being told who the committee is, so maybe we could get a little more clarification on why that information's private. I mean, obviously these people looked at all these contracts. I mean, did they know what numbers that they were looking at, what exactly was used to negotiate? So I'm not quite certain why council doesn't want to know who the committee was.
Mr. Fegley, if I may, as I said to Mr. Hirschman, it's a state statute, right to know law. I would defer to my right to know officer, Fran Fruworth, who is here on the specific exemption from disclosure regarding the RFP process and the members who participated in that. But it is not a city rule, it's not a city decision, it's a right to know statute issue.
Thank you, Ms. Messenger. Comments from the public? Good evening, Mr. Hahn.
Good evening. Tom Hahn, 2016 East Highland Street. Just to refresh my memory, has everybody that was involved in that RFP and the decision-making been cleared of any wrongdoings, and that no one from the solicitor's office was involved with that RFP changing any protocol? Has somebody actually investigated whether any of the people who were involved or are involved, names or no names, that there's no discrepancy left in this particular contract?
Ms. Wild.
Mr. Hahn, speaking on behalf of the solicitor's office, I don't have intimate personal knowledge of every facet of the investigation that has been conducted of the city. However, I can state to you with a certainty that, to the best of my knowledge, I know who the members of the committee are, and I am also aware, as I said, to the best of my knowledge, that they are in no way under investigation. Does that answer your question?
Well, not quite, because we don't know what influence other people had on the decision-making process, and so it's hard for us to accept the trust and the openness or transparency when you can't put a connection to the, let's say I was appointed to the committee, and I had a direct connection with the mayor. Would that be a conflict of interest in what's going on? That's why it's important to know who you're dealing with and what their connection was to why they're appointed, what was their skill level, and how they became experts on this subject, and how many other decisions did they make that turned out to be a little scrambled, whatever the words you want to use. That's why I'm saying, who's checking on any of the connections?
Would you like me to
Mr.
respond?
Wild, go ahead,
Mr. Hahn, I can't allay every concern that you have. I can tell you that I have personally reviewed the process that was followed in connection with this. I am satisfied that there was not any undue influence used. If there was, it is way beyond anything that I have seen in this matter. I think this process was followed in good faith, whatever the result might ultimately be.
Well, I'll just give you an example. In what I'm referring to, there was people in the solicitor's office, people in Mr. Schneider's office that were all connected in one way, shape, or form. And that's the link that I'm talking about, that if we know the names, or if somebody researches this, we'll be able then to see if there is a connection. In other words, what's going on now leaves the doubt in your mind that what transpired, either with the administration, through the administration, or the people that helped these things happen, how does the public get to really feel the sense of trust?
If I understand the question, Mr. Hahn, you're questioning the entire contract process, which, as you know, City Council has made changes to. I can only speak to this particular contract for right now, and my prior statements speak for themselves.
Well, no, I understand. I'm just saying, what assurance in other words, if I say, well, I don't trust your opinion because in the past solicitors were given opinions that wasn't based on facts, then we have a discussion back and forth as to what is the truth and what is an opinion. So we went through those stages. I have a folder of right-to-know requests as simple as the 5-year plan between the administration and PFM, who were paying extra money to do these programs, and I mean, they date back over a year.
All right, all I can say, and I think we're way far afield now, but let me just say that I am going to take umbrage with your use of the term people and in the plural referring to the solicitor's office. I am aware of the individual of whom you are speaking. Beyond that, there is no indication of any sort of rampant, widespread, or multiple offenses created by anybody in the solicitor's office. Certainly not anybody who currently is there.
No, but I'm saying that the question is out there for the public. I wasn't trying to accuse anybody. I was saying, in a biblical term, birds of a feather flock together, and all that other stuff. I mean, come on, we're being honest here, saying that we need.
Mr. Hahn, finish.
Yeah, no, we need trust.
Finish your statement, but, okay, thank you. Mr. Hunsinger.
Good evening.
Hello, sir.
It gets down, I'm not advocating waste management or Mascaro as far as that goes. But it looks to me that there is a distrust in this process. And that's the big thing. And the solicitor's office really can't come out or doesn't want to say or explain the right to no exemption that she's claiming. I think it would be nice if she would come out with those names so the public can have some kind of trust in this.
Where is the distrust?
The distrust is in the public because of what's happened in the last 2 weeks with one of the persons from the solicitor's office being involved in deciding another RFP. So, I mean, it's obvious that people are going to say, hey, we don't know what anybody had to do with this. And we're not blaming this person.
I understand.
So, I mean, that should come public. So
What should come public?
The committee that decided this. And why, and actually the facts of why they decided this.
Unless the other alternative is for city council to vote this down and go out for new bids. I think that's the most clean effect. That way eliminates her. She does not have to, I'm not saying her, the solicitor's office does not have to provide anybody. You're gonna go out and do this process again. And basically that'd be the proper way of doing it. And I'm not advocating for either one, because, I mean, it's just a normal thing to approve. So I think you have to really consider that. And you have 6 months to do this. If you can't do something in 6 months, as far as going out for a new bidder or whoever, you shouldn't be in this business.
Mr. O'Connell, I'm happy to have our right to know officer address the exemption from the Right to Know Act, so that the public is aware of why the membership of that committee is not being disclosed, and to understand that it's not for some nefarious or illicit purpose. Mr. Hunsaker.
Will they ever be disclosed? Will they ever be disclosed?
Committee members.
Under the Right to Know Act, Mr. Hunsaker, municipalities do not have to disclose the membership of the RFP committee.
They don't have to, but can they?
There's nothing to prevent a municipality from doing so.
So if the
Except to the extent, sir, that there is an issue with, we lawyers think of precedent, and there is a concern about precedent because there may be some issues that are sufficiently sensitive that one doesn't want to create a precedent of identifying committee members and then in later right to know requests not identifying committee members.
I understand, but there's always, sometimes somebody has to set precedents in certain areas, or the committee here, or the council here could ask for that in this particular instance. That's because of what's happened to the city in the last 2 weeks or so. And the other question I had for city council, do you people, or any of you know these 3 people, or 4 people, or 5 people voted on this RFP? Is council aware of those names?
Who voted on the RFP?
I'm just talking to you. Yes?
Committee members?
I'm asking if you, anyone in city council
As I
knows the
understand it.
names of the city of the people that were on that committee?
As I understand it, that's a yes or no question.
Yeah, I understand. The answer to me is, for me, is no.
I said any, how about the rest of them? Mr. Caridi, do you know?
I don't know more.
You don't know any of them?
I may.
You may? Know at least 1 or 2. Ms. Mona?
No.
Mr.
No, I
Davis?
don't,
we love the answer.
I think, no.
I don't
No, I
think
wanna
this
know
is proper
it's-
procedure.
In other words,
The procedure is there's a committee, I mean, the process has been explained, there's a committee that reviews the RFPs, a recommendation that's been made, and so what's your point if we know 1, 2, or all of them?
the point is obvious that
The
there should
discuss
be
for the
more
last
than
2
just the
weeks.
4 people or 5 people on that committee that know what happened. That's all, that's what's obvious. I mean, that's.
Okay, I got you, I understand.
If I was on council, I would wanna know that. Now, if you don't know it or you don't wanna know it, that's a different story.
Go ahead. Maybe
Mr.
RFP.
Hunsaker, I don't think that would make much of a difference if we know.
Probably not.
So,
I mean,
why don't we
the other things I
label it-
talked about haven't made much difference
Why
either,
don't-
so I mean.
Why don't we label it, listen, Mr. Hunsaker,
Yes,
why
go
don't we
ahead.
label it a point that really doesn't make any difference? Your concern is either there was a mistrust or a problem with it, but doesn't mean, I mean, that's not gonna entail who the people are, you know, in the committee. They probably great people. But what are you gonna do? Start asking them questions, or somebody told them something to do something? You're not gonna do that.
I'm not gonna ask him
Well,
anything.
then
I just wanna make sure that
Why do you
people,
belabor the point then?
it's not the same people that are
I
associated
am
with the
not
other
going to
committee.
put any of the staff here for that committee on a chopping block here for anybody here to be asking a question. It's inappropriate.
Say that again. What's inappropriate?
To put any of the people in that committee here in front of you, for you to be
I'm not
questioning.
asking them to
You're
come
asking
in
if
front
we
of me.
knew,
I'm not
that was the
asking for that.
question.
I'm not asking for that. I'm trying to get the council
You-
and the
you asked for a
administration to be
reason.
more transparent in this area. And it's not gonna come here tonight, I know that.
Well,
But then the other thing is, then you should turn this down and start over. That's what I'm saying.
Well, you
Well, that's a
have,
different issue.
That's
That's a different
that's a
issue.
different issue.
I mean,
That's what I asked the first question.
Right.
that's the issue. I'm giving them
Thank
the
you,
opportunity.
Ms. Hunter, thank you. And I see Attorney Fox is here. Anyone else from, before we get to Attorney Fox, anyone else from the general public that would like to comment about R73 before the attorney? Come on up, sir. Long time no see.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Good. Good seeing you. Name and address.
My name is Al Worth. I live at 525 6th Avenue in Bethlehem. I'm here tonight because I heard about the single stream and the recycling contract. And as you probably know, you've seen me before in the context of waste issues and waste policy here in the city. And I wanted to inquire about it. I'm completely confused by what I've seen. I'm sorry I didn't have any way to do a lot of homework on this. So maybe I could just get a couple of questions answered. But the real question that I have is, was single stream specified by the city?
That's not R73. That's not R73.
In this proposal. I mean, there's a reason why I'm asking this.
Well,
I understand you want to talk about whether the city council supports the decision to move to single stream, but that, in order to do that, what I would like to know is.
Yeah, I know that. Right. Say that. You want to know what?
What I would like to know is, I'm reading the context on this contract right here. It's a description of project of services to provide it on page 2. And then it says, yes, the MSW will be collected twice a week, recyclables will continue to be collected once a week. The contractor will collect all this item together, which is called single stream. Now, when the city asked, this is not the RFP itself. This is a response. This is a proposal that was sent in response to the RFP. That is correct, isn't it? Am I understanding that right?
You are.
How many other proposals were there?
3 of them.
That's a different question that we were just asking about. Did you want?
I want to know the answer to both questions.
The first one I would defer to Ms. Sauerman, but I believe the answer is that the RFP asked for proposals for both dual and single. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
So this is why I wanted to ask, because I used to do this kind of thing in bidding, and if you and in RFP. And when you send one in, if you how do I say this? If you wanted to pick up once a week, it would be much cheaper. There's a simple way to think of it, right? If you want to pick up the trash once a week, so if somebody could put in one, and single stream will be cheaper for collection costs than dual stream, obviously. Now, do the people who submit proposals give a response such that they can say, here's what we'll charge you, or here's what we will bill you if we did single stream, here's what we would bill you if you did dual stream? Because I lost a lot of contracts because people changed the rules and the way the contract worked. And they didn't tell me, and I bid based on what I did the year before. And that didn't work out because they had changed the rules, and somebody came in and undercut me because they knew some of the things they could get away with that I didn't think I could. And if I'd have been allowed to make a fair bid in that context. So my question is, did everyone who requested who sent in an RFP have both single stream and dual stream parts of their proposal?
Go ahead, Ed.
Yes.
So you've got 2 separate prices from everybody?
Yes.
That was my real question. And then this was somehow scored and someone decided to award this particular one?
Correct.
Okay. That's all I need. I can talk about the advantages of single stream, dual stream at my next chance.
You got it. You got it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Come on up, sir. Welcome and
wait till he's done.
Good evening.
My name is Jeffrey Viola. I'm from Jenkintown, Pennsylvania, actually. I am in-house counsel for waste management. I just wanted to come tonight and give you a little bit of a face for waste management here. I'm willing to answer any questions that you guys have. I think some of the things that I heard here tonight, concern about whether there was enough time to rebid the process at this point. I would just like to add that I will hazard the guess that the reason the package went out on the street when it did several months ago was because you need a certain amount of time to transition to a new contract. The contract itself asks for new vehicles. Acquiring new vehicles does take some time. The use of older vehicles, I don't want anyone to have the misconception that older vehicles are somehow cheaper to use. Older vehicles have a lot of problems in and of themselves. I mean, they break down a lot. There's a lot of maintenance costs. And the city itself is the ones that ask for the newer vehicles. So there is a certain amount of lead time that would be necessary to acquire a new vehicle. So to rebid the process and make an award right on the brink of the middle of June, I don't think would be doing the city any service, frankly. And it would be difficult for whatever contractor was awarded the contract to get the work done at that point. As to the process, I really don't have much to say except I recognize that people have some concern about, trust issues. A specification package was put on the street. Every potential bidder got the same specification package, had the same opportunity to come to the pre-bid meeting, to ask questions, to seek clarification if they needed clarification, and to submit a proposal on the exact same specification. There was no negotiation. There was pricing submitted without negotiation. A low bidder has been determined. So I don't really know what to say about process other than this is the process that every municipality follows. You put out specifications, you invite bidders, you accept bids, and you make an award. So there was no negotiation. I don't know if there's some lack of trust with regard to waste management. All I can say is all we did was submit a bid in response to the request put on the street by Ms. Armstrong.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Mr. Shu.
Good evening. Lou Shub, 1130 Hamilton Street. I'll make this short and simple. With respect to the right to know request that Solicitor was talking about a moment ago, you have it in your capability to be open and transparent. I would ask you to do that, number one. Number two, considering the cloud that this now infamous RFP has been causing, I would ask council to renegotiate this and start over in a publicly transparent manner. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chu. Okay, Attorney Fox. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Good evening. My name's William Fox. I'm general counsel for J.P. Mascaro and Sons, city resident business at 315 Basin Street. First, I respect your solicitor's opinion that this evaluation team is not tenured. They're relatively new. I don't even know who it is, but I'm not questioning whether they're tenured.
Thank you.
Second, I don't question that waste management is a responsible company and can do the job. They've been doing it for the last 7 years. They know we're responsible, we know they're responsible. I do question, not the evaluation, I question the legality of the process. And I strenuously question the legality of the process. I know one or more councilmen asked me last time here, if I had won, would I be standing here complaining about the process? I'd ask the 6 of you, used to be 7, now there's 6, if, to recall, in the letters I sent you, I complained about the process before the bids were opened and asked that the RFP be rescinded and that this contract be put out to competitive bid. So I'm not a Johnny-come-lately here as a company complaining because I was not the low bidder. I was at the forefront complaining that the process is illegal. You're proposing, and I heard counsel say, your solicitor, that the process that was followed in good faith. That may be true. With the people that are here today, I question the past and what's going on in this city. I'm not going to dwell on that because everyone knows about it, and there's a lot of potential taint that is floating around. But good faith, no matter how good the faith is, does not correct an illegal process. There's cases in municipal law bidding that are legion that says no matter how the degree of a municipality's good faith in the award, if the process was contrary to law, the bid cannot be awarded. You're getting ready to award a professional services contract. Now, I'm not going to go into all the detail I did last time, but the helpers on the back of the truck and the drivers of the garbage trucks are not professional services. They're labor and equipment services. Professional services can be awarded by an RFP. Labor and equipment services and general services under your home rule charter, under the third-class city code, have to be awarded by competitive bid. And interestingly enough, and I'd ask the chairman to, the consultant that was involved in this RFP issued a press release about 7 years ago when he helped the city. It's the same consultant, I think it's GBB, when they helped the city with their solid waste contract back then. And if you read the highlighted section, it was done by an invitation to bid. That was under this exact same home rule charter, this exact same administrative code, and the exact same general municipal law. I don't know when this idea of an RFP came out. We know, and I know personally, because the solicitor advised me, that she did not review the RFP before it went out. Query whether half the problems, or most of the problems in this city, deal with RFPs. Query whether the city administration improperly changed from an RFP, from a bid to an RFP, in the hopes that maybe it would be able to get some gain from somebody in the future. Now, Waste Management's a very good company. The people that evaluated this contract are very good people. Why did this administration change to an RFP, this tainted administration change to an RFP when all of the other prior contracts were awarded by competitive bid, including the last one? Your administrative code says that service contracts has to be awarded by competitive bid. This bid originally started out, as I read before, I won't read it again, as a negotiation. They changed the specs after I raised the issue. They changed it so you can no longer negotiate. But as I've said before, there were other potential bidders out there that were advertised that this was a negotiation process and may not have bid. And more importantly, they left language in the specifications. The gentleman from Waste Management said the specifications applied to all the people, they were common specifications. They weren't. They had language in there, and you even have it in your resolution.
Mr. Fox, finish your statement.
With saying you can have value-added services. They don't define what they are, they don't define what you have to bid on. You just throw in whatever you want, and Waste Management apparently did. This contract was bid illegally. It is illegal if you award it. There will be litigation if it's awarded because it's so improper. And I ask you to look at it and do the right thing and reject the bids and put this out for a competitive bid as it should have been in the first instance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fox. Any other comments from the public? Ms. Wells, do you want to respond to that, or let that one?
No response needed.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Hanlon, we are going to call a vote on R73, approval of the RFP to Waste Management. Mr. Hanlon, call the vote.
Okay, on resolution 73, Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mr. Glazer.
Yes.
Mr. Greedy.
No.
Mr. Hendricks.
Yes.
Ms. Moda.
Yes.
Mr. O'Connell.
Yes.
Mr. President, 9 yeas and 1 nay.
Okay, thank you, sir. We will now go to Bill 70. This is the solid waste fee. Mr. Hanlon, please read Bill 70.
Bill 70, amends Article 1131, municipal waste storage, collection, and disposal by making the solid waste fee at $375.
Okay, that solid waste fee, $375. Is this, defined? Want to do your, oh, Mr. Hartzell, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I will speak to this briefly.
Yes.
The $375 fee, as with the, was also aligned, as was the intended direction of the waste management contract in the budget. So we had factored in there that the $375 assessment would include still 2 pickups per week, but would also factor in single stream recycling.
2 pickups a week, which we have in single stream.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that would be the 375.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, we talk about other options, then we have other options coming our way also.
Yes.
Okay, comments from my colleagues. This is where we can talk about the single stream, double stream, the dual stream, single stream, dual stream. Comments from my colleagues. Wow. Mr. Glazier.
I just make the comment that I made previously in that we've invested 16 years in a dual stream system. I think it's something to be proud of. I understand markets change. They change back. And I certainly understand that commodity prices are, I guess, really, really low at the moment, and with no hope of getting high. So even, whether it be single stream or dual stream, the commodity prices aren't paying a significant part of the freight, and they probably won't for a little bit. But as I said, I'm sure it was a labor of love to build this system, and I would be reticent to change it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Comments from my other colleagues? Mr. Brady.
Thank you, Mr. President. I reiterate what I said before in regards to single stream and dual stream, and I feel that so far what I have seen, although I know that a lot of municipalities have been going to single stream, I still feel comfortable with single stream as opposed to dual stream. However, I would like to see the presentation that you have, and you may change my mind. I don't know. You have the PowerPoint presentation, right?
Yes, we do. This is the appropriate time for it.
Well, yeah, let me ask my colleagues on the other, before we get to the PowerPoint presentation, any other comments before we see the PowerPoint, and after that, we'll go back to my colleagues and we'll go to the public. All right, go ahead.
All right, thank you. If we would start, there were some concerns the last time that I did a presentation as far as what happens from curb to processing facility to marketing. And this is a short video that I compiled, that we compiled regarding in Berwick Township in Lycoming County, just north of Allentown. And the points that I'd like to point out in the video, you'll see that in the curbside, they're using similar bins to how we would begin the single stream process in Allentown. They're going to be delivering it to a materials recycling recovery facility where the materials will go through a conveyor system for separation, baling, and marketing. I particularly would like you to pay attention to the material as it's being processed because of the concerns that the single stream process turns the paper to garbage. When I contacted the recycling manager of this facility, he said that they have about 5.5% to 6% contamination, and that mostly results from people putting non-recyclables like diapers and other things into the stream. So if you're putting incorrect things in, you're getting incorrect things out the back end. And that's why nationwide there's such a push for education to educate the public on the correct items only going into the bin. Mike, if you can please click on the picture, you should be able to get the video arrow to start the video. New volume.
reduce the amount of waste we humans produce by taking something that's already served its purpose and turning it into something new, something reusable. Let's start at the beginning, at home with you. In most communities, you're asked to separate your plastics, your cans, and your papers into separate containers to be collected and taken to a recycling center in your area. The separation of materials is important, so recyclers can lump all the same type of material, such as plastics or cans, together for eventual resale. That's kind of how recyclers make their money. Lately, in many communities in the MetroCast viewing area, something new in the collection of recyclables has begun. For instance, in Berwick, you no longer have to worry about separating all your recyclable materials. That's right. Now in the Berwick area, you can just throw all of your plastics, all of your cans, and all your papers into one single bin. The reason is something called single stream recycling. Single stream recycling basically means all your recyclables can and are being collected by Nor Hauling in Berwick and mixed all together into the back of one of their trucks. Let's take a second, slightly slower. First, the trucks bring the recyclables in. Any large metals or shredded office paper in those plastic bags is removed and placed elsewhere so that sorting machines are not damaged. Then the recyclable materials is scooped up and placed into the single stream recycling machine, where the first items to be separated are the various types of larger cardboards. Next, the newspapers and magazines are separated from the containers, the cans and the bottles. The newspapers and magazines, or fibers as they're known in the recycling world, get sent to another line where employees make sure such items as glass or cans don't accidentally end up in the paper bins. Yes, humans are still needed in the process to catch occasional mistakes, which could lower the price of a bale of recycled material and or cause problems for whoever winds up buying the recycled bales. Problems like breaking the buyer's machines. So it is very important everything gets sorted properly before getting baled for sale. Once the cans and bottles get sorted from the paper, a series of optical sorters seek out various types of plastics and separate them. As Jason said, the water bottles get sorted first, then the milk jugs and laundry detergent containers. The optical sorters look for those types of plastics and make sure they get flung, literally, onto different conveyors than the metals. The metals are then run first under a magnet, which pulls out any tin, and then through an eddy current, which pulls out aluminum items. There's also a fourth green eye in that area, which pulls out any aseptics or gable top containers, more commonly known as orange juice and milk cartons and ice cream type containers.
Those are items that are heavily pushed by an organization called the Carton Council North America. That organization helped fund the purchase of that fourth optical sorter, which we're able to, that's an item that we weren't able originally to offer in single stream. But because of the grant and the Carton Council North America, we're able to offer that as a service to all the citizens that take up single stream recycling with their haulers like Mike Knorr in the area of Berwick and all the Danville. I know single stream is pretty heavy throughout the area.
From there, everything is placed into the appropriate bins where they're eventually crushed and baled for sale.
So as you can see, the material going through was clean. I talked with Jason Yorks, the manager there. And Mike, if you can go to the next slide, please. One of the things in the sixth bullet down there, the concern about broken glass as being a huge contamination and a problem in cardboard and paper. Where you saw the paper going up that star screener and it was fluffing it up, the actual pieces of glass fall through below. And to him, he said it's a non-issue for him, the glass and the contamination in the paper. And another processor, Waste Management, we currently have, we asked the same question prior to this whole process. If glass is an issue in single stream recycling and contaminating the paper, he said no, it's a non-issue for them. The random plastic bottle that may get mixed in with the bale of cardboard before going to market was more of an issue. And that adjustment comes in on the side of the MRF, on the adjustment of speeds of the belts going through the optical sorting so that it could catch it. And that becomes quality control. The MRFs today, the materials recovery facilities, are always updating their process their technologies. What was 10 years ago has changed to what it is today and what they are able to do. They weren't able to do all of this optical sorting before of plastic. So we continue to, the industry continues to evolve to generate a good quality product. They themselves at the back end want a quality product. They don't want to landfill recyclables. Our single stream materials will not be landfilled. There's a percentage of contamination, and the table that you see there up on the screen are numbers reported by Liberty Recycling and Green Star for our DEP 904 grant, 3.5 to 7% high. So going by Lycoming County's numbers, we are right in the range currently of the contamination that we already see from people putting in our dual stream program. So I don't see the contamination changing to single stream as an issue. Over 90% of what's going through there or higher is being recycled and marketed. The concern of costs has always been the other issue. You have to look at both of the environmental benefits of single stream recycling versus dual stream recycling, as well as then the costs involved. This is the waste management costs that were presented to City Council as part of the contract that was passed. And you can see here for the comparison between dual stream and single stream, for the first year of the contract and the collection costs alone, there's a increase of $587,000 for the first year to have additional trucks out there collecting the green bins and the blue bins separately. And that's then taking those numbers forward. The base year of a 5-year contract, 4 years extension years, all the way to the total possible contract years of 9 years, the difference in cost to collect dual stream versus single stream is $5.7 million that the taxpayers of Allentown would be forced to absorb and pay. And when you look at the argument between dual and single, you have to take the collection costs into consideration. If council were to vote for dual stream recycling, it would require, as I mentioned, the 5.7 in the long term, it would require the increase to $15 from $375 to $390 starting in year 2016. Now I know Councilman Glazier was concerned about the split because we have 5 months under the old contract and 7 months under the new contract next year. However, we responsibly work on a 5-year plan every budget season. In order for us to project out for the 5-year plan, we would have to do right away start with a $15 increase from $375 to $390. Factoring these points outlined in this presentation relating to the environmental concerns, the single stream materials will be recycled. They are not going to be landfilled. Contamination is minimal. The extra financial cost of approximately $5.7 million over the life of the contract, to me, is a huge increase. We would not make that up in the revenue, whether it's dual stream or single stream, we would not make that up. The revenue never covered the collection costs of recycling. And I would like to close with our recommendation, but a quote from a processor, that if we judge it just on materials alone, naturally the dual stream would have a better value. But you can't judge it on materials alone. The fiduciary responsibility of a municipality to its residents requires that the municipality takes all aspects of a program like this into account when making their decisions from collection to marketing. And I think it is our responsibility as the administration presented to City Council and City Council's responsibility to look at the whole picture financially and environmentally. We feel this is a sound selection to make of our program moving forward, and we highly recommend that the City Council approves the single stream recycling. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Howard. Comments from my colleagues? Mr. DeRee, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. It was an impressive video, I must say. I wanted to find out a little bit more about it, though. Those what do we recycle? What do we send our recyclable to? First of all,
From curbside, they are delivered to the city's site at Oxford Drive and Fish Hatchery Road into our recycling transfer facility building. They're kept currently separate. Our city staff delivers the commingled cans and bottles to Green Star Waste Management or Northampton. The blue bin paper and cardboard is delivered to Liberty Recycling in Allentown.
okay. So we at this point we make sure that they are separated.
That is correct. That they maintain separation. That is correct.
And the places that we're going to be sending them to, since we now are not going to be separating them, because everything is going to, if we do single screen, will be in the same bin. This recycling place that we will send it to, does he have like that biometric recycling sorting machine?
Capabilities? Yes, the ones that have responded to our request for qualifications for our curbside program have those capabilities under their MRF, under their technologies.
All of them. Well, the one that will be chosen since this contract already passed in this.
You just passed the collection contract to deliver it from curbside to our location. We did a request for qualifications.
That was a separate request.
For both the drop-off center and the curbside. So some of the vendors under those qualifications will be able to bid on the curbside and drop-off or just the drop-off. So the question when you ask, do all of them have that technology, some of them who may be only bidding on the drop-off center material may not.
I'm sorry, say that again. I was thinking of something.
That's okay. Some of the vendors who are qualified, because we asked for qualifications for both the curbside material and single and dual, and the drop-off center stuff, which we keep separate, the residents bring theirs already separated. They might not necessarily need those optical sorting technologies because the material's already separated.
Okay. It's separated where?
At the recycling center, and then, for instance, we bale our own cardboard. It gets loaded onto a tractor trailer truck, and that's delivered to Liberty Recycling. The plastics are collected at our recycling center, 127s. We compact them, pressure, we deliver. So there's no need to reprocess those, I guess is what I'm saying.
I understand that. The ones that are delivered over at the Martin Luther King, they already separated, so there's no need. Doesn't matter.
So
I'm talking about the one that I picked up on the
Yes, the other vendors who would be doing curbside have that technology.
Okay. And have you seen them? Have you seen this? I mean, has anybody seen that they do have this technology, or? I mean,
that would be part of the RFP process that we would assure that.
Okay, so that would be issued later.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Comments from my other colleagues? Kind of seeing none. Okay, we'll open up to the public. Mr. Hall, again, welcome.
Thank you. I'm going to address my remarks to you and your family. Who does the separating at your household?
Me? Oh, I'm sorry. When I recycle, I totally believe in recycling. Who does it?
I mean, if you want me to direct the question so you can understand to one of your council members, just tell me.
No, I like this question. My wife and I, we both recycle.
Okay.
And
now,
go ahead.
Since pizza boxes that have oil on and stuff is not something that they want to put in the cardboard. So who takes care of making sure that the pizza boxes don't get in the recycling bin for cardboard?
In my house?
Yeah.
We don't eat pizza.
Is that the answer?
No, just being a wise guy, I'm
No,
sorry.
okay, now who rinses out the jars in your house so they're not contaminated?
Me.
Now, did you have to get trained to do that, or did you automatically know that the cleaner you make the recycling, the more money it brings into the person who eventually is involved in the recycling process.
Yes, Mr. Hahn, I have OCD, okay? I make sure every jar is clean, every dog can and every cat can is washed out thoroughly, all the particles are off of it, then it goes into the recycling bin. And that is the truth, but go ahead.
Now, how many people do you think do that?
Oh, geez, that's, I don't.
Because
Yeah,
right
I
now,
know what you're saying, go ahead.
right now, we have to conserve the water because the water rates are going up. So the more washing we do on recycling, the backlash is that it's gonna go on the meter and cost more money, true or false?
That was a trick question there.
Okay, keep coming now. We went from A to B back to Z.
Right.
But
Now-
no, go ahead, we're having fun.
Now, as it was mentioned-
Can you just, like, summarize, are you in favor of single stream or dual stream?
I'm just bringing out points.
I know.
Now, the thing that was mentioned was the 5-year plan, which I'm trying to get from the administration and PFM so that we understand that she has information over there on the 5-year plan, but the public doesn't. Does council have the 5-year plan?
No, and that was brought up that was brought up a month ago with, Mr. Hirschman brought it up and Mr. Dockery alluded to it.
We're still bringing it up.
I know, Mr. Dockery alluded to the fact that the 5-year plan for PFM was not any, apologize for that, but, Mr. Hartsell, Mr. Messenger, go ahead.
And they're different 5-year plans.
They are.
The PFM one is dealing with the financial operations. What Ms. Sauerman is talking about is dealing with the overall recycling plan. That's an entirely different 5-year prospectus.
But it's all connected to the same thing called money. In other words, the financial plan or this plan all requires money. So when you visit other places in the country where they actually make space in areas for you to do the job so you get your taxes reduced, you actually walk your bag to the recycling center in every neighborhood and put it in all clean and nice because they were trained.
Where's that at?
Europe. They're ahead of the game.
We talked about that earlier, maybe
They're ahead of the game. Now, a milk company
finish your statement,
takes it back to the store that you bought it on and recycles it back to the room, like you would have glass bottles and aluminum cans.
Remember when we took the bottles back to the vendor and got a nickel?
No, I'm just saying,
I'm
trying to
There's
see,
a machine for that.
where the cost savings equals all the homeowners and the residents to do the work. Is it worth? I mean, what's our discount for doing that work?
So I ask you a question now, single stream or dual stream, what are you in favor of?
Oh, I'm not gonna help you to make the decision. I'm just posing all the questions to make you think about how you're going to lower the budget and still provide the service.
No, very good questions. Thank you, Mr. Hahn. Mr. Hilliard, welcome again.
Good evening. I was going to bring up the same point. We're not going to be able to afford to wash out the Prego jars. And I don't say that lightly because it was a horrible decision made. And the bipartisan reform group we formed will educate every year why the rates are going up and where the money's going, which is basically the Wall Street bankers. But this is a good suggestion because over the next decade, this government's going to have to find ways to cut costs everywhere possible. So I absolutely would encourage single stream. In fact, I'd get rid of recycling completely because more and more municipalities are starting to do it because basically you're paying to recycle, which is a taxpayer cost. But let's get a little victory here and it's a step in the right direction. My question is the $375 fee, how much revenue does that generate?
375 times the number of households.
Number of households on an annual basis, it's just under $14 million right now.
14 million.
Yeah, we talked about around 36,000 households. Was that the number I heard like a week or two ago? Yeah.
Now, is that only to pay for the garbage contract or the whole solid waste fund?
Mr. Hartzell, or Ann? Say that again, Mr. Delia. Is that the 14
In
million?
other words, the fee, is that just to pay for the collection costs?
Right.
And recycling, that's part of the collection costs? Or is that used to pay for the whole solid waste?
That's for the solid waste fund. There's the 4 separate pages that are in the budget there.
Okay. So one could assume then part of that fee is raising the $4.575 million loan
4.5
to the
million.
general fund.
4.5.
Which could be deemed an illegal tax, because you cannot overcharge for services. So I just want to make it aware, I would look at reducing the garbage fee, because you're charging residents more to raise money, although technically this year it's called a loan to the general fund. But as we dig into this, by statute, I heard that phrase quite a few times tonight, we can go back 4 years, and if there were transfers into the general fund instead of loans, you have to make good on that by reimbursing the illegal amount that was taxed. And we will pursue that along with the water fund, by the way, because I think that's part of our budget problems. What some of the other citizens warned about doing the water deal was employees were not going to be covered. They'd have to be covered by other parts of the budget. And we were bleeding out, I believe some of the numbers kicked around were about $10 million a year. I think that's part of the reason we're having budget problems now. I think this water deal is actually costing the city more in the long run. It didn't fix anything. So I just want to let you know, we'll talk about the transfer later. If that scheme's done, there may be legal implications, which could cost the city tens of millions of dollars down the road. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Delia. Cashel, welcome.
Thank you. My name is David Keschel. I live at 119 West Wabash, Allentown. I also own Liberty Recycling. I've been up here before talking about dual stream, single stream. I'm in favor of dual stream. Where they got their figures on only 6 and 7% waste going to landfill. Articles I left up here several weeks ago from Morning Call, June 24th, Forbes magazine, all said the same thing. 25% of all household recycling goes to the landfill, and 40% of the glass goes to the landfill. Here's an article from Recycling Times of this week. Waste Manager and others have sounded alarm, putting single stream recycling in the spotlight. Here's a Bloomberg review saying the same thing. All these people are saying the amount of garbage is coming out of single stream and going into landfill, but yes, waste management goes up at very low amounts. Now, the county that they had up there, only 6%, I believe, was going landfill. Sure, by saying they only get 6%, they get more grant money. If they'd say they're getting 25% of their is going to landfill, that's less grant money they're getting. Those figures are fudged. Waste Management put out 2 letters with single stream recycling, the cost to municipalities. September 4th, it's going to $15 a ton. November 19th, it's going to $25 a ton as of December 1st. It's going up and up to single stream recycling. Landfill space is going down. Stick with dual stream. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Auerman, Mr. Messenger, if you want to respond to any of that?
Well, first of all, I appreciate the relationship that the city has had with Liberty over the years. It's been a very good relationship. The numbers of 7% for Liberty Recycling are ones that Dave Keschel provided to me for my 904 grant. So the implication that I am putting improper numbers there to get more grant money, those are numbers he provided to me.
That's not what I
No,
said.
you said waste management. Yeah, that wasn't directed at you. That was directed at the waste management.
and Waste Management has provided those numbers to me for my grant number. There's another, Clinton County, I checked with them, their MRF, they are also at a 5 to 6% contamination rate. I come back to the point that I made in the presentation. It is about education. The stuff that is getting landfilled is because people are putting in things that are not recyclable. The trend has been that with single stream recycling, the volume of recycling you are getting is increasing in areas of contamination because there are trash limits, bad education, and they're like, well, I don't know, is a hose recyclable? And they're putting the hose in. So coming out the back, if you have garbage in, you're going to get garbage out the back end. And what I'm trying to get across with that is, it's the stuff that is in there, the paper and things that you saw going across the conveyor belts is clean material. It is the cans, the bottles, the paper, everything we want. But if people are putting in contamination and improper things, that is the problem at the back end. And education is the key to getting good material in to get the best prices out the back and the best recycling.
Thank you. Mr. Hunter, Ryan, how are you?
Good evening. Ryan Hunsiger, SAU chapter leader. I want to show you, I'm going to show you visuals. I apologize for my phone because, I should have my pad, but I didn't. But this is what our current stream looks like right now. You can pass it around. This is what we have at our center that Waste Management hauls to us currently, the dual stream system. Much cleaner, much more effective. As you can see, I'm going to show you another picture on there. I'm going to show you the waste that's involved with single stream. It's a huge pile of waste. I haul there every day. I took a picture of it. So that's our current system we're looking at right now. Mixed paper on the left, the cold mingle on the right. This picture here is Waste Management up in Northampton. This is the landfill material that they haul to landfills every day. That comes from single stream recycling.
How's it going through that biometric machine that we're talking about?
Oh, that's been through the machine. That's been through the machine a little. Don't forget now, their machines up in Northampton are old. What is this one? This is the waste from single stream recycling. That goes right to the landfill. All those piles right there. Now don't forget, Waste Management just bought this company up in Green Star less than a year ago. So they inherited from Green Star, which in turn bought it from Todd Heller, which was the original owner. Todd Heller was the one that put the original system in. The separation system. One side is commingled, one side is single stream. It's not the current system that you're thinking of. This is the waste. So I guess my question is, we say we're going to have fewer trucks on the road. How many fewer trucks with single stream? Do we know a number?
I'd say probably, depending on how they do their operation, maybe 2 or 3.
So, all right. So, would you say 3 trucks less, or would you say 3 trucks total?
I would think it would probably be less. Let me first of all engage in that I'm not a professional garbage hauler, so I'm, some of these numbers that I'm giving you, I'm not giving you as the total professional as far as what it is, but I can only imagine it would be 2 or 3 trucks less.
However, I would like to respond to that. We require in the contract, we give them a start time and an end time and a zone that they have to collect. It is up to the hauler to figure out how many trucks they need to get it done within the parameters we give them.
Let me tell you what we currently have. We have 2 trucks for mixed paper, 2 rear load trucks for the dual stream side that you've seen in there, the clean side, the plastics, the green bin that you put out the curb. That's 4 trucks. 2 additional trucks for your yard waste collection. And that's only from April to November. So now, if you're going to combine these 2 things together in one single stream, your amount of material is all combined together. You're going to double your thing, your amount that you get in, that you have to haul. I don't know how that can be done. I don't know how they can go from using 4 trucks for a total of mixed paper and cold mingle to less trucks. I just don't see how that happens. I mean, that's why I was trying to see what the numbers were. Something's not right, but I really suggest you stay with the dual stream system. Because we don't know what lies ahead, and if markets come back up, we want to be able to market it accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hunter. Mr. Begley?
Good evening again. So in the presentation, and I may have missed something when Mr. Hilliard spoke earlier, there was a 4% increase in the $375 annual trash fee. So if we decided to stay with dual stream recycling, there was going to be a $15 increase, correct? So that's 4%. So the graphs that we were showing, the bar graphs, showed a significant savings by going to single stream. So I'm not sure if that was part of the bill tonight. Were we reducing the $375 waste fee or trash fee to a lower rate since we were going to single stream? Because those bar charts showed the significant savings. But I was just wondering why we're not going to see those significant savings.
Well, Ms. Harmon, can I ask, it would stay at $375, the garbage fee collection fee for 2016. But go ahead.
But even though, like the bar graphs, I don't know if we can put them back up again. I mean, they showed millions of dollars of savings.
Over the course of the RFP.
And that's over the course, we showed over the course of 1 year, the course over 5 years, and then over 9 years. So that's keeping it from having to go up to $15.
No, but the $15 is only a 4% increase. Could we bring those bar charts up again so we could write down the numbers, or does somebody here have those numbers, the amount of the savings?
Well, maybe you can pull them up.
And I just want to point out, as the question was said before, does this just pay for the trash contract? No, this is for services for solid waste for the 4 programs. So when we're talking the $15, we're not only talking that, we're talking any increases there would be for the employees in that budget. We're talking any increases there would be for healthcare. We're talking any increases or any equipment that we would need to purchase over those that same time period.
That would be
it's not
included
just
in
the contract.
That would be
These numbers are
included.
just saying the contract.
Go ahead, Mr. Begley.
I don't know. Does that make sense to you, council?
Say that again.
So here we're showing a 400,000 some savings in the 1 year. So let's divide that by the amount of people that are charged the trash fee and reduce the trash fee. So if we're going to be saving by going to single stream, how do the citizens get to realize that savings? Because I also heard that if we maintain dual stream, we'll stay at the $2 million mark there. So in order to stay at that $2 million mark, we have to raise the annual fee by $15. That's only a 4% increase to the trash fee. This shows more than a 4% decrease in the fee. Or in the total charges. So I'm saying the $375 covered
the dual stream.
Exactly. So, and in order to stay that way, we have to have a 4% increase, but this is showing more than a 4% decrease in the savings, so I'm just wondering why we're not seeing that. Mr. Hilliard, is that what you were explaining? Okay, so I wasn't sure if that's what he was saying before, that it would be owed back to the city.
All right, Mr. Hartzell, go ahead, for Mr. Begley.
Mr. Begley and members, going up through this year with the current contract and with the other responsibilities related to solid waste, we've been able to do dual stream and twice a week collection at $375 per residence. For the reasons that Mr. Messenger just laid out very clearly, we are doing everything we can to cut the overall cost when it comes to our waste management issues. But there are other costs that are involved that go through the solid waste fund, and he pointed out some that have also been hitting the general fund in terms of increases, costs for benefits, which are up significantly this year. It was a very, I think, strong effort for the solid waste team to be able to keep that rate at $3.75 with twice-a-week collection and the single stream process to ensure that and given all those other things, that if we did it that way, we could keep the rate flat. But trying to do the same thing that we're doing right now, given the other costs are involved, would involve going up $15. And while Mr. Fegley is pointing out that difference in percentages, that is only the percentage, that's only the portion that's dealing with the increase in what a dual stream collection would be as opposed to a single stream. And the whole rest of the budget is factored in flat or close to flat. And so that much of an increase in that one component is going to cause a 4% revenue or 4% fee increase across the entirety of solid waste.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Baker.
Okay, and then finally, I mean, I was told at one point in time that the $3.75, that the trash fee was just for trash. But the rest of it was covered in our taxes, but, so the trash is this contract, so I just see that the $3.75, I believe, was supposed to apply towards this contract. I mean, the dollar numbers work out. When you see that, it's covering the contract. So once again, we can just say, hey, this is like a big pool of money, obviously, that the solid waste fund uses. So, still, this shows that there's only a 4% increase, yet there's a bigger savings than 4%, and I'd like to still know why we're not saving that. And thank you.
Mr. Baker, if I can ask you a question. Single stream or dual stream, you have an opinion?
I really don't have an opinion about it. I mean, I see the mixed statistics. The statistics here were less than 10% that goes to waste, and I've seen numbers as high as 40%, maybe even 60% that goes to waste when it comes to crushed glass mixed with it. I know that the paper getting dirty, that's kind of an issue. But honestly, I really can't say. I mean, I lived in Boulder, Colorado for 3 years, and they do single stream recycling, and they have for years. It's debated. The big thing is that in the way that you saw the collection there, the trucks crush or compact the trash. And that's an issue with crushing the glass and the glass being mixed in with everything. But now with the equipment that they have, you know, like I said, the statistics are all over the place, so I could give you articles that are like 40, 60% waste, and I could give you the ones that are all less than 10%. So I'm not the expert, but I think I go with something that has the savings right now. I mean, that's one thing I could say, but as for the merits between the two, I can't really say.
Well, thank you, Mr. Baker, appreciate that. Councilor?
Good evening again. I'd like to comment about the $3.75 fee, because I guess when he said he wanted to increase it, I don't see, the money, the $3.75, I guess brings in about 13.5 million, somewhere around there. And, but you know what, I'm looking at the CAP report here, and just to refresh you, I don't have it up for everybody, but I'll give it to you.
This is, how many you have?
Okay, I don't have 4, okay.
Mr. Brewer, I'll share.
If I look at that number, there's about a $9 million in that fund. You're gonna take $4.5 million out of there somewhere. I guess the question is, are you gonna have enough money between now and when the 375 number comes in March to run that operation? Now, you can say you're not gonna take the $4.5 million out right away, but if we generated this much money in that fund, according to the CAP people, I'm assuming those are the people that tell us the right number, because we hire them at what, 80,000 a year or whatever. That money had to come from someplace. And it basically came out of the 375. So saying you have to increase that, it doesn't make sense. I mean, I'd like somebody to explain this to me, where this extra money came from in the solid waste fund. Where did it come from? It had to come out of the 375 number.
Ms. Hartzell.
I mean, unless there's some other paperwork somewhere.
Mr. Hunsaker and members of council, the intent of Bill 70 is to keep the fee at $375 with the intention that it was set up that way with the presumption that we go to single stream. I would want to comment or commend to a significant degree those who've been managing the solid waste fund, and that they have been able to maintain a very solid balance in there in case emergencies did come up. And I assure you that even with the $4.5 million transfer, there is sufficient balance after that in the fund to carry out what they need to do, and that there won't be any problems as they wait for the cash to come in with respect to the waste management, to the solid waste fee.
I agree with what he said. But then why are you talking about raising the price?
From
If you're gonna go to,
375
stay at solid, if you're gonna go to dual stream, because they said they wanted another $10 or $15 more on top of that, 390 instead of 375. They're already generating $9 million over and above by doing this excellent job. So basically, all along, you really owed the taxpayers a rebate.
Yep.
Really?
Legally.
Because, but they've been taking that money out, and you people know that. Now they're gonna have to use some of that $9 million, half of it he's gonna take out to help balance the people's budget. And he has $4 or $5 million left. Okay. But now to come on and tell me you're gonna have to raise it to 390, that's BS. Let's face it.
Okay.
It really is. They should have never done that. They should have been honest with what the heck's going on and look at these numbers. You have to go, if you're gonna go by the cap report, if you're not gonna go by this number, make up another Madoff report, like I say.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Archibald.
So again, here we go. I'm going to talk about something slightly different yet relevant. With respect to the PowerPoint presentation, I have to admit it looks very good, at least in the PowerPoint presentation. I've not seen the technology recently, but I've done this kind of work before 30 years ago. I used to work for waste management, and I can tell you from practical experience that the first rule of plumbing can be invoked. Shit happens, you'll excuse the French. Parts break down, sensors degrade, sensors get banged around, SCADA controls break down, computers break down. It happens. So on that basis alone, I question whether this new technology will actually work predictably in the long term. Besides that, I would also agree with Mr. Glazier that instituting single stream, whereas it's dual stream now, might be problematic in that educating consumers to do that in a clean manner could in and of itself be a problem. And one more thing that I haven't heard discussed yet is the fact that even though prices are depressed today for recyclables, what happens if 2 or 3 years down the road the price for aluminum cans goes up? That's more money down the road. Same thing with cardboard, same thing with other recyclables. That should also be taken into account as well. So long story short, let's keep it dual stream. Thank you.
Mr. Shu?
Mr. President, can I address?
Yeah,
that?
Mr. Allen, go ahead.
Regarding the economy and the markets, as I've stated before to City Council, that the next procurement we are looking to do is the RFP for recycling materials acceptance process and marketing. And in that RFP will be a request of a business model with revenue sharing percentages, so that in good times and bad, whatever the processing costs and the revenue generated, the portion will come to the city as well as the processor, so that as the economy grows, we would continue to get increased that percentage would give us an increased revenue share. And if the economy continues flat, we will obviously be the opposite of that.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. Anyone else from the public? Mr. Ward?
I think we've been talking about a lot of things here that are confusing some things. And I think the money issue is obviously clear, and a flat fee by a house is one of the most terrible taxes. I can tell you as a political scientist that that's not what you want to do, is charge everybody the same thing, so that the same people who generate a lot of trash and the people who are very thrifty and recycle everything pay the same thing. The rich people pay the same thing. The poor people, this is not the way you want to balance your budget if the money is being diverted from the solid waste fund. Bethlehem does the same thing a little bit because they have a recycling fee that is just charged per household also, and that's not a very good plan. The second thing I would say is that getting rid of recycling entirely to save money is both
illegal under Pennsylvania law, because you do have to do some recycling as a city. And the second thing is, it really defeats the whole idea of why you do recycling, which is that you know, recycling is a response to the trash problem, which is a pay me now or pay me later kind of thing. Remember those old commercials? The trash that we generate, we pay for one way or another, whether we put it in the landfill, and then the landfill leaks and poisons the water, or the landfill creates greenhouse gases, which is why the mayor was so high on the incinerator. If you remember, a lot of you voted for that, so you must be very concerned about the greenhouse gases. And all of these things are, you know, all of these things are because trash goes to the wrong place. The third point I would make is that, you know, if you do single stream, you're really going backwards in the sense of understanding that there are valuable resources in your waste stream that you're trying to recover. We used to just throw everything in the trash and then throw it all in a hole and then say it would be fine. And we know we ended up paying for that big time in a variety of ways with pollution, with air pollution, and now, of course, with climate change. So what you really want is to recover the materials that you can have value from, and single stream is only one step away from the old trash. And places that are doing more progressive things are actually separating out other things like compostables to keep them both out of the landfill and out of the recycling stream. I would also rate, I mean, there's so many things that have been said here that are just a little bit confusing, but I would also remind you that comparing Allentown with its high density and very urban population and levels with some suburban township in Lycoming County, and expecting to get the same kinds of recycling rates and contamination rates, it's just wishful thinking. It's, you know, you should expect the same levels of contamination, only more, in a single stream recycling. I mean, it's just, the idea that Allentown would do better than that is crazy. And then the last thing I would say is, and I'm sure Ms. Sauerman would agree with me, she wouldn't take the stuff from her recycling center and give it to the MRF, the single stream MRF that Waste Management is using. I mean, this is a very logical thing. We want the trash, we want the valuable thing out of the trash stream so we don't just throw them away. That helps upstream because we recover some of this material and stuff like that. And if you have a place where everything is separated like you do in your drop-off center, you wouldn't just then throw all that back into a bin and take it to this MRF place to be reseparated again because it's cheaper. It's not cheaper, okay? And this is the exact same thing. I mean, she would acknowledge that. She would keep the stuff separate. Once it's separated, it has more value. And so if you commingle all this stuff into a single stream, you're taking value of the recovered material, and she acknowledged that. You're taking the value of that recovered material and discarding it. You're not capturing that value because you've mixed it together and contaminated it more. You would never mix separated stuff back into the thing and do it again, if that makes any sense. So you know, the exact pattern that we have now tells us that single stream is a retrograde kind of move, and that actually what we really want to do is teach people how to A, reduce their waste, and B, recover the materials that are in there and not have them be left as a legacy for other people in our streams, in our air, and in our climate change. So, you know, there are a number of issues here that are all getting kind of put together in a strange fashion, and I would strongly recommend that you don't use single stream, and that you can't possibly believe the most optimistic things that we're claiming about it here. And that what the real trade-off is between collection costs and losing the value that you get from better separated stuff like she does from the recycling drop-off center. And the collection cost, for at least some of the testimony, suggests that the savings aren't going to necessarily be there because you're not going to get all of this commingled or single stream into one truck, and you've only got two doing it now. So I think there's an awful lot of sort of wishful thinking about this single stream, which probably comes from the marketing of the company that does it and that sort of thing. But I would not believe that any of that is true, both in environmental costs and in real dollar costs. I think all this is way, way overestimated.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wood. Anybody else from the public? Mrs. Sauerman, you want to respond, please?
Yes, please.
No, it's not a debate. It's not a debate. You had your 3 minutes. She's going to respond to you. Huh?
I'm done.
Yeah,
I
you're
can
done.
sit down.
Oh, I thought you went down and coming back.
No, you're telling me I'm done.
Basically, I'm telling you, yes, yeah, but you can sit up front if
Just
you want.
asking, I thought if she was gonna ask me a question about what I was saying, I could respond, but I can do that.
No, it's all right, you can do it from back there, that's fine.
Okay, I'm gonna go from the last point that he made regarding the truck costs. I believe en route now that Waste Management has approximately 2 to 3 trucks collecting the blue recycling bins and 4 or 5 collecting the green bins, and actually some of it depends on which zone they're collecting on which night. So as far as the new contract though, with the collection costs, those trucks and the number of trucks and everything was part of the proposal and that fixed cost that they gave us for collection. So that is a fixed cost, and all the proposers were asked to give us that. On the other point that he made regarding the trade-off of collection costs versus dual, and that stems back to my last point that I made in the presentation of the fiduciary responsibility to take into consideration all costs involved, from the collection to processing to marketing and so on. And one of the things that I have seen is what they're now calling in the MRF world processing the blended stream value. With a dual stream process and the markets right now, cardboard and paper are probably one of the most valuable commodities there is right now. There's a lot of cardboard out there, it's reused, and if you when you remove that from the rest of the stream of cans and bottles, which the glass and tin, aluminum, that has all dropped down in value, that commingled part that you're left with has little value. When you're mixing it together in a single stream, and some of the models that I've seen, is it raises the value of that whole blended stream because the paper and fiber and everything is together. And so that's one of the models that I have seen as a possibility. Some of the other points that he made, let me just look here. When he talks about the compostables, you know, we have our yard waste program. We're very proud of our yard waste program, and that's a big portion of our waste stream that we're pulling out. We have a mulching operation right now. I would love to, at one point in the future, be able to pull out food waste and to continue to chip away at our waste stream to see what else we can recycle. I don't want to stop here. I want to continue going down the road, mattress recycling, you know, all kinds of things are out there that we can continue to look at. This is just the beginning of, or continuation, I should say, of 25 years of recycling. He is correct that we are required by state law to recycle, even though the cost of collection and you have the processing costs and everything are out there. And I've said before, revenues from the recycling do not begin to cover the costs. We are still mandated as a municipality to have a curbside recycling program. So we try to do our best at it by collecting it the most efficiently, marketing in the best way, keep our processing costs down, managing the solid waste fund, of all the components of the fund for a cleaner, greener Allentown. That's what I'm charged to do, and I give that my best effort. And I would like to just continue to say that I started as an education manager for the city for recycling, and I know the importance of education, and it will be a priority for me to make sure that the residents of Allentown understand, from the pizza boxes to the rinsing of the materials if necessary to what goes in the bins. That will be my priority, to get the best quality so that we can get the best RFP from the processors and the best values, to do assessments of our waste streams from time to time to see where we need to improve on, where we need to improve on education. This is all part of what I do as part of my job for the taxpayers of Allentown, for the residents. And, you know, I'm very proud of the staff that I have and what we aim to do.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Sullivan. Mr. Warfield, I mean, I'll give you time if you like.
Oh, sure. I would just say there's an old song, it's called "It Really Isn't Garbage Till You Mix It All Together."
Say that again, I missed that.
It really isn't garbage till you mix it all together. And that's what we ended up doing by having one trash pit that we ended up going into contaminated landfills like the Bethlehem and other one too. And when we mixed all our trash together, we began to separate it out and to go backwards and start mixing things together again and then trying to take them back apart. You're fighting the second law of thermodynamics and you're fighting the old tune of the song, which is keep the stuff separate, retain its value. You mentioned the deposit bottles that I can remember and you can remember, right? That's called extended producer responsibility, and that makes the people who sell the trash have to buy the trash back. Their name is on it, but we suffer the costs of all of their trash making, whether it's Budweiser, Coca-Cola, or pizza boxes, or whatever it is. That's pretty much my point, and you can't make that go away. And if we give single stream, we uneducate people instead of educating them. We tell them that they can throw all the stuff back together, and I think that's a mistake.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any other comments from the
Thank you
public?
for the chance to.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, any other comments from the public? All right, now, Mr. Hanlon, any follow-up comments from my colleagues? Mr. Glazier, go ahead.
In order to raise the fee to stick with dual stream, Mr. Hanlon, how many votes are needed?
Super majority, 5.
Majority. Mr. O'Connell, it had been my intention to offer an amendment, but I can count, and I don't think there are 5 votes here, and I don't believe in futility, so I'm not going to offer an amendment.
Go ahead, Mr. Brady.
Thank you. Ms. Silverman, I was impressed with the videos I said earlier. However, I got a couple of questions. One is, for some reason I thought that when they collect the single stream into, the recyclable into the truck kind of compacted this before they took it over to the biometric recycle machine, right? But then when I saw it in the machine, it looks like it was all loose.
There's different trucks that are out there, and in that video, yes, that was a traditional rear load trash truck that does compaction. But there's a certain level of sponginess that cardboard and paper allow within there. One of the things that we were clear when we put out our request for proposals was their collection vehicles could not render the material unmarketable. That's been in all of our contracts throughout the years. So we do pay a close eye as to how they're collecting it with what vehicles so that they are not unmarketable and unprocessable.
So they're not compacted?
They're probably compacted to an extent, but it does, and that's something they're required once this contract is awarded to submit the vehicles that they will be using for the collection contract, and Craig and I will be reviewing that.
Okay. The other question that I had was in regards to how much money, how much revenue does the recycling actually generate in Allentown?
From curbside and drop-off? In 2015, our A&E for recycled materials, we're projecting at $420,000. That's what was in 2016, we are proposing $380,000.
That's all it generates?
Yes.
For some reason I thought it generated more.
In the highest years that we had, I believe it was $750,000.
At one point.
Yes.
Then, the last comment I had was basically, I truly believe that you're doing a great job in recycling.
Thank you.
And I think you guys do, not only you, but the entire department. And I appreciate when I go over to the recycling center and take things, and they're so well separated, and like to have more access to the shredding machine, but that may be coming eventually. But
yes, we received grant money for a shredding machine. We're hoping to purchase it in 2016.
okay, but I think you know, I'm torn on this one, Mr. President, because initially my idea was basically to, you know, go, fully double my dual stream. And now looking at this, it's kind of changes my mind a little bit. However, I also torn because we're already increasing our, you know, our taxes, our EIT, and then
It needs to be voted, Mr. Garidi, first.
well, it needs to, but that's what the projection is. And doing this, another $15, it kind of hurts a little bit because, you know, there will be some people who cannot afford to increase, you know, to pay more than what they're paying in taxes. And, you know, the poorest of the poorest and some of those people who are living a fixed income, especially the elderly, will be hurt by this. So that's what I'm kind of, it's working in my mind on how torn I am and on this whole recycling and, you know, looking at the final outcome of what will happen. And you know, if the system works and it works well, and we're going to be watching it and making sure that it does work, I'm more, you know, I mean, there were 7% mentioned, but there were also up to 60% mentioned that we would be wasting. And I'm hoping that we're staying with what they said, which was what, 6% or 7%?
That's what some of the MRSA had reported their operation generates out the back end. As far as Allentown's waste stream, what you saw on the other ones or what was reported to me as a dual stream percentages, the 3 to 7%.
That's a dual stream. How about a single stream?
I don't have numbers on that for Allentown.
What are you predicting?
I would hope based on the way our residents have taken to the education for the dual stream and they're putting in what we're asking them in low contamination, I would hope that our residents would be able to understand the new program and continue to only put in what we ask them to keep it low. I would also like to say that our office staff gets calls with people moving into Allentown that have come from single stream communities, and actually the dual stream program is more confusing for them. So it kind of goes both ways, and you know, we are, you know, this is, like I said, something we hope to implement. We will monitor, keep an eye on it. I would be glad to report to council, you know, as this is coming through, to keep you in the loop. But I think it's the right direction to go.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Ms. Moller, go ahead.
Yes, I agree with Mr. Garidi. I'm also turned. It's a difficult decision. I have a 3-year-old, and believe it or not, you know, she knows about recycling, so he sees something automatically. But the reality is, our community is hurting financially, and I will hate to see an increase. Wow, a great presentation. But the reality is, I don't think we have the vote right now.
What'd you say? Well, when we call the vote, we'll know the vote when we call the vote. And Mr. Hendricks, go ahead. I'm sorry, Ms. Moore.
I'll be brief here.
No, hold on. Are you finished, Ms. Moore?
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Hendricks.
All right, thank you. I'll be brief about this. I appreciate all the presentation and all the input from the public here. I too, over the last week or so, have read a lot of articles, both online and that were presented to me by Mr. Keschel. I appreciate the comments by Mr. Fegley. I read the article around Colorado about that. I'm a fanatic about recycling at home, and I did have concerns. But after reading about the advanced technology that's being used today, and all I can say is technology advances. And I think over the years, it's going to be even less contamination. We have done a great job educating the public, and I don't know how this vote's going to go tonight, but what I would do is say we have to continue educating the public on this very important subject. But at this time, I too, we're facing another tax increase, the ERT tax. I don't know how that vote's going to go. But at this time, with that, you know, in the horizon, I'm not in favor of increasing costs for our citizens. And And I do think that the single stream is probably the way to go, based on the municipalities, the evidence that you presented here tonight. And so I'm in favor of giving that a try. And if people want to continue separating glass and paper in the bins they have now, they can do so. It'll end up in the same truck, but it won't be in with garbage. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. Ms. Modi?
Another question, you did mention about the educational component. What are you planning to do to educate our community? Because like I was saying, this is sort of like a second nature to a lot of us. So what are you planning to do to educate our community?
Well, I'd first like to say, you might not be able to tell that I'm passionate about recycling. And, but I would like to rebrand Allentown's recycling program with a new marketing campaign, visiting all the neighborhood groups. We are redesigning our website. The Recycle Bank program that gives the refunds and the coupons, they have their own website already built in both English and Spanish, so that everybody in our community can take advantage of that program. It's going to be education in the schools. It's going to be newspaper articles, opinions. I have to look into the social media. Our studies have shown nationwide that 60% of Americans today have smartphones. So using mobile apps and getting the information out. So what do I need to do to recycle? When does it go out? And what do I do with this? And the answers are immediate and in their hands. So I'm going to use every tool available to me at my disposal to get it out. And it's going to be a continuing, we have an education manager, and it's going to be a continuing part of our program.
And I do agree with you that a lot of people have smartphones, but the reality is there's 30 and 40% of people that do not have that, they cannot afford it. So it has to, the campaign, if we go to single stream, it has to be very forceful, very strong.
And easy to understand.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, whatever we do to educate the public, let's keep the cost down. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Let's please keep the cost down.
We do what we can for free.
Yeah, I like the word free. My question is, we approved our resolution 73 to go into a 5-year RFP. What flexibility do we have with that RFP? My question being, we do single stream for a year and we say, oh my God, what a disaster. I'm just speculating, hypotheses here. Do we have flexibility in 2017, 2018?
The way I understand our contracts, and this goes for all the contracts that I worked on over the years, that the RFP and the or a bid works the same way, that the proposal of the bid becomes part of the contract. So all of the proposals that were given to us by Waste Management for both once a week trash, twice a week trash, dual stream, single stream, that all becomes part of the contract. In the RFP, there's a clause that says the city has the right to add or delete services throughout the life of the contract. So therefore, we would be able to make adjustments as we see fit, as if the solicitor agrees with me on that.
Thanks. I would really have to take a look at that, because the terms add or delete don't necessarily mean change, but I may be looking at it strictly from as I'm paid to do, a legal point of view. But I don't know whether add or delete means that you can change the terms.
Well, for an example.
But you're saying that's the difference between an RFP and a bid. Is that what you stated? That's what I heard. Because this is an RFP.
Regardless, all of the terms and the prices and everything become part of the contract.
Right, okay.
Let me give you one example that happened in the last contract. We asked for a price for appliance collection, and it was, I think, almost $400,000 annually. And when we did that the first year, we allowed us to buy our own appliance collection truck, hire another SEIU employee, and we brought that in-house because the truck was about $110,000, a one-time purchase, and then the employee costs, as you know what they are for the MW2. And that was a service we deleted from the contract without issue.
Okay. Okay, I'm satisfied with that answer. Any other comments, final comments from my colleagues? Mr. Hanlon, call a vote on Bill 70, which would keep the solid waste fee at $375.
Okay, on Bill 70, Mr. Glazer.
Yes.
Mr. Greedy.
Yes.
Mr. Henry.
No. Keep it the same.
Yes. Yes. Ms. Moda.
Yes.
Mr. O'Connell.
Yes.
Mr. Davis. Yes. President 68, no nays.
Well, thank you, Ms. Solomon, thank you, Mr. Messenger, and thank you, Mr. Hartzell. We will now go into, I think you should stick around, okay? We will now go into Bill 69, Mr. Hanlon, Bill 69.
Bill 69 is an ordinance that establishes and adopts the Solid Waste Enterprise Fund for 2016.
Say it again, with the mic.
Bill 69 is an ordinance that establishes and adopts the Solid Waste Enterprise Fund for 2016.
Thank you, Mr. Hanlon. Comments from my colleagues on Bill 69? Comments from the public on the Solid Waste Fund? Mr. Hilliard, am I the only one that has this?
No, everybody should have a copy. But,
Oh, you're here. Okay, I got you.
We'll talk about more of it next week, I guess, but, yeah, a couple questions. It says appropriation of $20.3 million, just rounded off. What are the sources of that money, that $20 million?
Mr. Hartzell?
Mr. Hilliard, that is entirely coming out of the collections via the solid waste fee, and for a technical reason, because we are doing the $4.5 million transfer to the general fund, that $4.5 million, just to show the transfer thereof, is actually included as part of that 20 million total. So minus the 4.5 is the actual portion that is being spent for solid waste purposes this year.
And what's the source of the transfer money, the 4.575?
As with everything else, it is the solid waste fee.
It's a loan.
To be repaid in equal installments over 7 years, beginning in 2017.
Again, it's another short-term decision, because if it's a loan, you're gonna have to pay $750,000 more next year. Where's that money gonna come from? I mean, to me, this seems like a scheme. You're almost moving money from the general fund into the waste fund to move back to the general fund. It just seems a little confusing. And again, it could be deemed illegal tax. So I don't know, I'm proposing here, again, if you take the revenue line, if you take the 4.575 out of the revenue line of the general fund, isn't that also in the expenditure side of the general fund as well? Because again, where's the money coming from?
My response to that, Mr. Hilliard, is that the 4.5 million that is coming over from solid waste as a loan to the general fund is intended to ensure that there are sufficient revenues for the year to cover the necessary expenditures in the general fund, and that is why it is there. That we have about $1 million surplus right now, with the expectation of the increase in the EIT plus the transfer by loan of the solid waste funds to the general fund. Putting all of that together gives us about a $1 million surplus.
But again, it's either coming from the general fund or the capital money, it looks like.
None of this is capital money.
Okay, so it's capital money, okay.
None of this is capital money.
Oh, okay.
No capital.
Okay. So no capital, okay. Just trying to get information as we dig into this more. Because again, and I would look at the contract also. If you look on the back of this page handout, I look at line 46 items, obviously, because that's where the crimes have been committed, and we can use that term now. the solid waste fund since 2005 has basically grown over 50%. And it looks like the contract came in at 8.6 million, but it's budgeted for 9.95 million. So I don't know if there's other contracts in that line item, or if that's just the collection fee. You also see other things, the sweep program, the first 6 years of it, there were no line 46 expenditures. Now they're up to 60,000 almost. And animal control, again, line 46, when it started in 2009, was 46,000. It's increased 595% to 318,000. What the heck's going on here? Are these just more cronies getting nice contracts? Hate to be suspicious, but I think those numbers need to be looked at as well. And again, I think we need to really get a handle on this $4.575 million transfer. Because you can't use capital money for general fund, you can't overcharge to move money to the general fund. Calling it a loan might be a nice legal technicality, but I think the practice has been going on for the last 4 years plus. And again, by statute, we can dig into that, and you would have to reimburse that money for illegally overcharging for services. So I would really encourage you not to open up that can of worms, because the other thing is, again, the loan fixes nothing. We've gone through the lockbox, we went through the 2007 bond refunding to a higher interest rate, the LCA water deal. It seems like every scheme to get us through just increases the costs down the road. So I would find a way to balance this budget without that transfer. I have some ideas here. I'll have more time to work some more up. This is what I was able to do today and all my spare time. But you're just creating a bigger, worse problem for next year. You're going to have to come up with $750,000 next year on top of all the cost increases. So you're just digging a deeper hole. The first rule of being in financial trouble is stop digging. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Carson, any comments? The loan was voted on, I believe, last week already.
It was, yes, part of it on December 2nd, as far as
Go ahead, Mr. Garidi.
Thank you, Mr. President. Has anybody looked into any of what Mr. Hillier just alleged, saying that we have to pay this money back because we're overcharging the fees? Can somebody look into that and find out what the real, having him come over here and say this publicly makes us look like, we're doing something illegal.
I think we've been very clear, Mr. Garidi, that while the waste management contract is the largest contract within here, that is not the only thing that we do in terms of solid waste. And the $375 that residents are being charged right now was taking care of all of the solid waste activities and ensuring twice-a-week collection and dual stream. To keep that fee in place for 2016, we have to go to single stream, but we can take care of all of the other operations of solid waste at the same fee as this year if we do that.
And I think your explanation will hurt. I'm just not very comfortable sitting here listening to somebody alleging things that we're doing all this illegal doing or finagling of funds and charging fees that we shouldn't be charging, and nobody says anything.
If I may address,
somebody may stand up and say, that's not true.
If I may address the one point that Mr. Hillier.
Well, yeah, we'll have to ask him.
Hillier made was regarding the sweep program and account 46 with the line item detail for high grass and weeds vegetation cutting contracts of $50,000. We do high grass and weeds, we do trash and it, but we have contractors on through PO that they have to go out when there's a violation We cut the grass, we issue a sweep ticket for the violation, and then issue the cost to recoup that $50,000 as part of that. So even though that is seen as a line item expenditure, there's also sweep revenue that comes in from the tickets to offset that. The other thing with our sweep program, we are required by state law to have certain enforcement in place for trash, litter, and recycling and illegal dumping enforcement in order for the city of Allentown to qualify for grants. So that's how that also ties in.
You know, Ms. Alderman, I appreciate that. I just feel like we feel like people make all kinds of allegations here, and we just stay quiet, and people think, I mean, the rest of the people who may not know what's going on, they think they're true. So it makes us look all like baboons sitting here, you know, just saying yes, no, you know. And with this time that we kind of say, hey, look, what you're saying is not true. You know, we gotta be proactive on this. I mean, times change, all this, you know, background that they keep talking about resonate, and it resonates bad on us in the administration and on us. And we need to make sure that we say, look, this is the deal, this is what really is going on in the city. What you're saying is not true. But we gotta say that. We shouldn't be afraid.
Right, and you know, to the point where the 46 account, that's why you're given a detail, a line item out of each expense and what it's for. So, I mean, if you have any questions on a certain line item in account 46, I mean, we can address it, but I mean, that's why we give you a detail of what it is.
And I hear you. But you know, we got these two folks here. They're pretty big, we're part-time, okay? We don't have the time that you have. You prepare the budget, you present it to us. The right thing to do is for you to say, Mr. President, what you're saying is not true, you know? This is in here, and this is where the money's going through. We don't have that luxury that you guys have, unfortunately. You know, but you know, you need to help us out as well. You know, on this thing, because you know, I personally go by what you tell us. I'm believing that you tell me the truth. I do my research and look at it. I can't remember every single line item and how much it is. We have hundreds of line items. I can't remember it. And I don't think any of my colleagues, regardless of how smart they are, can remember as well.
Mr. O'Connell.
Mr. Glazer.
I agree with Julio, is that I can't remember, but I can certainly open the book and take a second and take a look at it. And unfortunately, I didn't bring mine tonight, and the details are not on the web. But, you know, this is what we're expected to do when we have the departmental hearings. And, you know, I agree with you, I can't remember everything, but I can assure you, darn tootin', Mr. President, that I looked at, you know, every account 46 expense.
And so did I. You know, I look at it as well, Mr. Glazer. But I'm thinking, what I'm saying is not saying that you're not the smartest guy in finance in the council. What I'm saying
and I would accept that, thank you.
What I'm saying is basically that the administration has these things, they know their departments and they're here, and they should stop that. They should stop people from saying things that are not true. That's what I'm saying. I'm not blaming us. I'm basically looking. I'm not blaming us, Mr. Glazer. I'm basically looking for support from the professionals who are doing this day-to-day operation. Somebody comes from the street, picks up a couple of line items, and says, you guys are fudging the numbers or doing whatever. And then we just stay here and don't say anything. You know, we should say something. And I think, you know, the administration should say something on those things.
Mr. Hartzell.
I will say something on that, Mr. Greedy.
Thank you, sir.
In the detail part of the solid waste budget that is specifically the collection, disposal, and recycling program, this year's adjusted budget was approximately $15.2 million, just for that particular function. At the current pace that Ms. Sauerman and her team are spending, we're only going to be spending $14.2 million this year. And if you take out the $4.5 million, that's the transfer, the actual expenditures that are tied to that program for 2016 are $13.6 million. So if anything, the overall cost of carrying out those functions is less.
Hold on. That's exactly what they're saying is wrong. What they're saying basically is you're charging the user fees more than what you need for the program, therefore it's illegal. That's my first question. I'm not sure that's true.
I would not abide that as being a responsible thing with what we are trying to do and making plans for the future. Sometimes that's going to require that there be sufficient reserves to do what they do. And what is being aimed to do with this and with all of the other functions that happen within solid waste are to ensure that the fee is there to cover everything that's responsible.
Okay, let me kind of bring this full circle. Mr. Hillier came up and made statements, his opinions. We respect that. We might not have to agree with Mr. Hillier, what he's saying. Mr. Greedy then said that Mr. Hillier, basically, somebody should say, that's not true, that's not true, that's not that. And obviously, administration is here, and Sauerman answered questions, Mr. Message answered questions. Mr. Hartzell, you answered a ton of questions tonight, but I think it's the right of anybody to come up here and say what they need to say. And then we respect that, we move on, and we go home. But I think you cannot, I mean, somebody comes up and they, say an outright whatever, lie, okay, we're gonna go. But I mean, I guess I'm sticking up for Mr. Hillier in a way. He came up with some facts, okay, whether we agree or disagree, whether they're false, they're true, whatever. He had his time, and we respect that. We respect that. Then we get a rebuttal, and then we move on. That's democracy. And so I'm finished. I don't know, any other comments from the public? Mr. Hahn.
When I started the trust thing and the money, one of the things that still is out there in the public domain, being talked about in all the neighborhoods around there, is when the city or the administration decides to move the tax paying time up a month, are they defrauding us of the money because we can't keep it in the bank for a month? Is that, do they owe us 1/12 because they move it up for when they want to collect the money? I mean, this is the kind of thing that's out there. When they move it from March to January, is that frauding the public of their money by saying they have to collect it earlier? These are the questions that are out there.
Not quite sure, March to January.
Okay, what time are our taxes due this year? Are they billed in January, February, or March? When does the money start to come in from the taxes for the city?
There is no expected change, Mr. Hahn, from what has happened this year with respect to the bills that go out for property tax and for the solid waste fee. And there is still a discount in place for those who pay for it by early April. If anything, we're hoping that we can actually end the confusion at the back end by having a single date in the future, so that there will be one clearly defined date beyond which there's a penalty and before which there isn't, but the calendar is not changing from what it was this year.
So, in other words, you're saying that the bills won't go out for the people to pay in January or February, in any of those months, like the rumor that went around. In other words, that they want to collect the money earlier in the year.
No, I never heard that one, no. Oh, it's the same.
So the date won't be changed that I can pay my taxes early?
It will not be changed, sir.
No.
It's only rumors.
It's the same as every past year. Do you want to pay them early?
No, I want to keep it in the bank.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, so that's what I'm
No,
saying.
it's the same schedule.
We're not going to pay early. They're not changing that date.
Mr. Hahn, no. the date at which the 2% discount for early payment of property taxes is enabled remains the same as it is for this year.
That's why I was so interested in the 5-year plan, so we can understand this better. We have to push to get that plan before the budget's passed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. Mr. Fegley.
Good evening again. So I just wanted to clarify, in the solid waste fund, revenue item 085-2900 for trash collection, is that the $375 trash fee that's collected from residents? The 13.75 million?
I expect that is that one, yes.
Okay. So we're borrowing money from the solid waste fund to pay for something that a tax increase technically should have paid for. So our budget's short, and we're saying, let's borrow money from the solid waste fund, but I, as a citizen, paid my $375. Again, I'm asking, why are we talking about a reduction if we're going to single stream? So I should be paying less than the $375. So this, again, is basically a tax. You're using something that, in order to balance the budget, we should have taxed through a property tax increase or a further EIT increase, or we can't lease the water and sewer system because we already blew that. So again, you know, by borrowing from the solid waste fund, you're borrowing from my trash fee to pay for a budget that no one here tried to balance. And we just decided that we were just gonna borrow all this money from the solid waste fund. So can we just clarify that we're using the citizens' trash fee to pay for a loan? And is this the way we're getting away with it, is that we're calling it a loan, so we're gonna pay it back? Because to me, it does seem like it's illegal, again, using my trash fee to pay for a hole in the budget.
Mr. Hartzell, any response?
There was some thought about whether a revenue source dedicated to this could be drawn upon by the general fund for these purposes, and the determination was made. There is no outstanding debt in the solid waste fund, and that it is something that we could draw upon for this year as a means of trying to reduce the tax increase, and then and we have laid out in detail how we're going to repay it back through 2023.
I mean, Mr. Hartzell can say whatever he wants. I mean, I'm more concerned about what council thinks. You're taking our citizens' trash fees and you're using it to pay for the hole in the budget that should have been fixed with a tax increase, or it actually should have been fixed by the water lease. So I'm, again, trying to figure out, we leased the water and sewer system. We're raising the EIT to 1.65. One of the solutions to the pension crisis was to raise the EIT to 1.7. So we're almost there. So on top of it, you're also now taking money from the solid waste fund, which is money that the citizens have in a fund that they paid into with trash fees, a fee. It's not a tax, it's a fee. So you're using this fee to fill a hole in the budget. So it's not for Mr. Hartzell to answer. He's already given an answer. Pulowski and he are just gonna do this. It's up to you to ask the questions and say, again, is Mr. Fegley right in that we're paying it with money that we shouldn't be paying it for? And you're gonna be told that, where else are you gonna get it from? So I guess you guys have to pass it. Or that's what Pulowski's gonna tell you. And again, why isn't the mayor here tonight? He's publishing on Facebook and Twitter that he's at a menorah lighting tonight, and he was also out having wings somewhere. And he couldn't show up to this meeting? I do believe you asked him to come, okay? I mean, for real. You're using my trash money to fill a hole in the budget that this man, who doesn't have the gall to show up here. It's disgraceful. And the finance director's just got all kinds of canned, scripted answers. You're not gonna get anything insightful out of him whatsoever. And Mr. Greedy's right. You should all be asking more questions and asking why the public's saying things that are illegal. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fegley. Mr. Hartzell.
I just want to clarify,
the sheet of paper I showed you with the CAF report showing $9 million in that fund, where is that money sitting? I mean, the credit should be to the solid waste fund. Am I correct in assuming that, by looking at that CAF report page?
Mr. Hunsaker, yes, all of that money that you were showing, which was for the years 2013 and 2014, at the end of the year, that is entirely the reserve of the solid waste fund. Up to this point, there has been no moving of any of that money over to the general fund, nor has anything come back into it other than what the solid waste fee would be. Yes, sir.
So that money is sitting in some bank account someplace, is that correct?
More than likely, we have what would be considered the cash reserve that is in the bank account, but it is assigned specifically to the solid waste fund so that we keep that accurate and that what we can say is spent from there. We account for it very rigorously and be sure that what's in there is indeed that balance.
So basically what I'm saying is you take $4.5 million out of there, there should be another $5 million roughly in round terms associated, so solid waste people could use that money with your approval and the mayor's approval. You could physically use that money. That's sitting someplace that's available.
That is the understanding, yes.
We gotta know where that money is then, because I showed you, and we have to go by the CAF report. That's the golden standard, otherwise we might as well give up. I mean, walk around with your hands up, because you don't have any, there's no basis for where this money goes. So, this understanding is that 9-point-some million was there last year on the 31st of December. And could have said, hey, I need a new whatever, worth $2 million. Now, whether they would get it approved or not, but the money's there. Because she did her due diligence and saved money some one way, which we're saying is, basically, we've been overcharged. Basically, because you wouldn't have got that much money in there. You had to be overcharged. Now, nobody's gonna come after you and sue you and say, hey, give us that money back. I don't think so, I'm not gonna do it. But some people might. You have to come to a point where you have to realize this. I mean,
I heard that tonight.
but okay, cleared up that money's there. He said exactly what I wanted to hear.
Okay.
So we can trust the CAF report numbers, correct? No?
Mr. Hartzell?
The CAF report numbers, as they showed, in terms of the cash balances in that enterprise fund, are accurate at that point. There are, my understanding had been, though, that there actually had been expenses in excess of revenues, and that was causing a decrease slightly over time in that item. And as far as we have been thinking going into this year, we were probably, after you get the commitments out of there, closer to having about a $6.5 million balance than $9 million.
So basically that will show up in.
It will, whatever the cash balance is at the end of 15 will indeed show in the CAFR, and it will be accurate.
The problem is, with that is that we don't see this till August. I mean, with today's computers, I know they're very slow. So, I mean, it'd be nice if by May, maybe April, we should actually be able to see this. I mean, speed up your Dell or whatever we have here. So, why must we wait till August? It's legally due the last part of June to see these numbers, unless we go for a right to know, maybe then they wouldn't know them either. And the other part was, they create these numbers, and that's why I sometimes talk to Jeff Glader. He's with us, I guess. I talked to him about the Madoff report because some of these numbers don't jive. Because when we look at the CAF report, the 31st of December, it shows we have this money. And if I look at the Madoff report, that's my name for that report, and he gets the numbers for them, whoever does it, it shows a negative number for the solid waste. Now, what does that negative number mean? I don't know. I don't understand it. You guys must understand that. How do you go from that 9 million credit, all of a sudden it shows a negative number on that monthly report?
My anticipation, Mr. Hunsaker, is that what you're seeing there in the annual is showing from at least the net change in the fund from the beginning of the year up to this point. So that would not likely include whatever the base is, but it's showing what the change is during the course of the year, revenues versus expenditures, that's affecting that fund balance.
Is that the definition of all those lines on there, that you see the net difference is a negative 200,000, say? I mean, I thought that was supposed to show what the balance is in those accounts. I mean, we should review that, our council should review that and get a summary of explanation on what that report actually means. So everybody understands it, even yourselves, I think. If somebody, maybe these people all understand it, I don't know. It's confusing to me. I mean, we have 9 million in that account. Maybe between midnight on the 31st of December and the 1 minute after midnight in January of the next year, that money disappears somewhere. I mean, it could not happen. But I'm being facetious because I'm cynical a little bit. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hudson. Any other comments from the public? Mr. Hanlon, Bill 69. Please call the vote on Bill 69, which is the solid waste fund.
On the solid waste fund, Mr. Green.
Yes.
Mr. Henrik.
Yes.
Ms. Moda.
Yes.
Mr. O'Connell.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mr. Williams.
Yes.
President, please, and Joe Davis.
Thank you. This meeting is adjourned.